Good morning to you, Grenada Carrier, Cool, PD, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, the rest of the world. Welcome to Good Morning Grenada for today. It's Monday. It's the 8th day of July. Hope you had yourselves a great weekend. Given the circumstances that we're operating under.
Thank you for the...
Our hearts still going out to the folks on the Sister Isles of Carriacou and Petite Martinique, those of you to the north and the western side of the island who were so adversely affected by that dreadful Hurricane Beryl. Good morning to you, Mary Banks, and also to you, Michelle Bernard. How are you? It's a good day to have a good day. Yeah. Morning. Lydia Cameron, good morning.
I will lift up my eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. I can't tell the future, neither can I say the minute or the hour.
Definitely.
My final day, but until my work is over, I'll try to do.
Yulin Alexander, good morning to you. She says good morning and blessings to all for this marvelous Monday. With her rhyming as usual. Good morning, you. Yulin, how you doing? Nice.
Nothing more I want to do, oh merciful Father, than to live my life for you.
Sharon Bartholomew, good morning.
Oh my son, hear my cry.
Good morning to you, JJ, Daphne and Sylvie,
Hear my cry.
and Denzel. Sylvina Charles, good morning. How are you this morning?
I don't only
Hope you're doing fine.
talk, oh merciful Father, but strive to walk the walk.
Let me be careful this morning and say good morning to you, Agista Pierre. How are you this morning?
My example,
Hope you're doing fine. Mildred Smith, good morning to you, and Shem. Shem, good morning.
oh Father,
Jillian McIntyre, good morning.
for my family, oh merciful Father, all your
Lovely. It's now time for the word of the day today. And of course, you know, the word of the day today is a presentation that we always try to improve on your word power. All right. And the word of the day today is that word incognito. Incognito. Now, when you go incognito, your true identity is kept secret, as through the use of a different name or a disguise. Incognito can be used either as an adverb or an adjective with the same meaning. Yeah, that's incognito. That's the word of the day. And let me tell you how we can use it in a sentence.
This is the day the Lord has made.
The pop star travels incognito as much as possible, using a fake name and wearing a wig and heavy makeup to avoid the paparazzi. Yeah. How many of you go incognito on your phones? 24 minutes on to 7 o'clock.
Things just won't be the same. But since for tomorrow,
At this time, we now take a look at our motivational tip for the day. Keeping you motivated, keeping you inspired, keeping you optimistic.
another day, oh merciful Father, oh please hear my
And the motivational tip of the day: setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Heard this one before, right? Just thought of reiterating it.
oh my child.
Setting goals is the first step in turning the invisible into the visible. Yeah. 23 minutes on to 7.
So even
I endeavor to make your day a brighter one.
jobs and
Lift your spirits.
know you got to
Keep you motivated.
turn this thing around.
Positive. Optimistic.
And yet,
Yeah.
Savior, and I put my trust in you.
How How's Denzel doing? Bouncing around,
breath I breathe.
as always.
Father, you provide my need.
Nadisha, good morning. Debbie, good morning. Ariel, Kitty Cat, Alwyn,
My daily bread.
Moyaki and family, and Mama Khan, Ajamu, good morning. Mommy Lyris,
Oh my,
Rastiba and family.
oh my child.
Eggies and Chief and everybody in Pomerose, good morning. I pray to Bellevue and surrounding areas. Bill Isle, the Maxwin family, good morning to you. Dr. Lane, good morning.
Onto the hills
Mommy Gwenny,
with my help.
Teacher Mary, the Critical Eye, good morning.
Heaven enough.
Nonetheless, folks, it's time for us to have our nutritional tip for the day.
Minute or the hour, or my final day.
As we try to keep you holistically positive,
Try to do my best. And once I give,
ensuring that you practice proper health.
yes, Lord. Oh,
Your health is your wealth, right? Remember that.
for the privilege. Oh, merciful Father, to share this love you give.
Drink lots of water.
Research studies have shown men are most susceptible to heart disease and heart failure throughout their lifetime, as this is the leading cause of death for men. The Center for Disease Control states that heart disease is often a silent killer that isn't diagnosed until signs and symptoms of heart attack, arrhythmia, an abnormal heart rhythm, or heart failure occurs. Heart disease is a broad name used to describe a number of ailments which affect the heart's function. A man is at risk of heart disease if he has an unhealthy diet, if he has uncontrolled diabetes, is overweight or obese, if he doesn't participate in regular physical activity, drinks alcohol, and smokes excessively. If your heart is unhealthy, you may experience symptoms such as feeling tired during the day, chest discomfort, particularly during exertion or activity, weakness or fatigue, swelling in the legs, belly area, feet, ankles or hands, fainting and lightheadedness, easily getting short of breath, and fluttering in the chest. One of the easier ways to reduce the risk of heart disease is to have a healthy, balanced diet that does not contain foods that are high in saturated fats, sugar, salt, trans fat, and cholesterol. Instead, men should choose to eat more whole grains such as plain oatmeal, brown rice, and whole grain bread, ground provision, more vegetables and fruits like leafy greens, carrots, bananas, orange, plums, mangoes, and cherries, more protein-rich foods such as fish that is high in omega-3 fatty acids, lean meats, eggs, nuts, and seeds, and peas and beans. It is also important to choose oils and oil-rich foods that are high in monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats like canola, olive, sesame, sunflower, and soybean oils, almond nuts, salmon, avocado, and tofu. Other things that can be done are to stop smoking, reduce alcohol consumption, keep active, and practice proper stress management. Stay updated with our social media platforms during the month of June for more information. Until next time, the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council reminds you to look, eat, and feel well.
Rolls ring a bell? Yes, they keep the body working.
Let us rejoice and be glad.
Yeah, my pride.
A lovely way to start the day, eh? Always. Huh?
Well, if I had another chance to start afresh again and live this life,
Yolan Swan, good morning to you.
just wouldn't be the same.
I'm seeing some really new, visitors to the platform, and welcome.
I want to
Cynthia Bob Forrester, good morning.
all you done for me. Yes, Lord. Oh, Father.
Michelle Cambridge from Brooklyn, New York, good morning. Veronica Sandy says good morning. Gordon Innocent, Joseph, GBN, Grenada, Carriacou, Pidimatnik, everybody. My brother Peter Joseph, good morning. Jennifer Lawrence, good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and Pidimatnik, prayers Yeah, when the prayers go up, the blessings and everything good comes down, right? Let us stay focused, positive, blessings also, says Jennifer Lawrence. Dorian George, good morning to you. How are you doing this morning? Nadia Lalit, good morning. Catherine Alexander, good morning. Mildred Smith, you always bring that energy to the platform. Lovers, Mr. Innocent Gordon, thank you. Stay blessed. I try my best. This is one of the times when I give what I don't have. Oh my goodness. Nadia Lalit is watching from London. Blessed day morning to you. Hi, Nadia. Hazel and Miller, good morning. How are you doing? She says good morning to everyone. Sharon Bartholomew, canola oil is not good for the body. Okay. Joseph Ross, good morning everyone on the GBN Live Network. Have a great day, Mr. Gordon. I try my best. Let me tell you what's buzzing this morning. What's buzzing? Let's see what's buzzing this morning. All right, the UK pledges £500,000 for Hurricane Beryl relief. £500,000. Okay. I remember a time when a certain individual said, you could do better than that, man. In the region, we hear that the Guyana government is fine-tuning legislation on oil spill protection. Internationally, record-breaking heat wave threatens 130 million people in the U.S. And in sports, we hear that the team West Indies about to start their test match series against England. Well, they were hosted by the King at Buckingham Palace. Hope each one of you get £100,000 when you come out from there, all right? So those are the buzzing stories. You'll get more of them during our morning edition of News, Sports and the Weather, which is just around the corner. You know, this song is so fitting for the program in the morning. Don't you agree with me? Yeah. Give my pride. Give my pride. Good morning to Janelle McDonald and the entire family. As a matter of fact, the GBN family, good morning, man. A wonderful team it is. Yeah. Let me live by example. Hey folks, this is the time when we take that break from here. We've got the AM edition of News, Sports and the Weather forthcoming. Stick and stay with the network. We're with you anywhere and everywhere.
Spend $50 or more at any Hubbard's department or participating outlets for a chance to win free fuel, free drinks, free prizes, free property and vehicle insurance, free Hub TV and internet, free electricity, free coke, free water, free cooking gas, free paint supplies, free Dutch Lady milk, free passes to Sunshine promotion events for 2024, free groceries, all for one whole year, and every winner receives a free lunch package. But that's not all. Drive away in style in a brand new Isuzu D-Max. It sips, it doesn't guzzle. So fill out your entries and place them into the marked entry boxes. This promotion is brought to you in part by Dutch Lady, Danny, Promo, Supreme Bleach, Creative Chef, Grenlac, Floor, Salt Petroleum, Grenadian General Insurance Company Limited, Coca-Cola, Sunshine Promotion, Caribberies, Coop Bag, Sesame Spain, and Food Fear. Promotion runs from April 2nd to December 24. Terms and conditions apply.
This is Ezra the Fun Machine, and I'm calling all revelers, carnivalists, and bacchanalists. Let me tell you, take a loan of $3,000 or more for your costume and pay only $340 per month with God's ready cash. Plus, you get to enter to win your loan back. That's right! Pay $0 down and nothing for the first 30 days. All you need is your ID, proof of address, job letter, pay slip, and 2 references. Visit your nearest God's already cash location today or contact your Carnival band for more details. Experience Carnival 2024 with God's ready cash. We are ready when you are. Conditions apply. Aye, aye, aye.
Here's an assignment for you super sleuths, should you choose to accept. Every single-use plastic thrown into the environment has a fingerprint on it. Who does it belong to? That plastic bottle or food container was imported and distributed to warehouses, supermarkets, shops, food trucks, school canteens, vendor trays, and eventually made its way to us. So how did it get buried in the environment? Whose fingerprint is on this? Since several laws, including international agreements, prohibit polluting, hold on to that plastic bottle or food container until you get to a bin and dispose of it properly. Separate plastic waste for transport to a facility that reuses, repurposes, or recycles. It's the responsible thing to do.
Struggling to secure a business loan because of limited credit history or loan security? The Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee has the security you need. The Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee, ECPCGC, is a bridge to accessible financing for micro, small, and medium enterprises.
This is the GBN Morning News for today, Monday, July 8th, 2024. Coming up in the news, the UK pledges £500,000 for Hurricane Beryl relief. In the region, Guyana government fine-tuning legislation on oil spill protection. Internationally, record-breaking heat wave threatens 130 million people in the U.S. And in sports, King hosts West Indies cricket team ahead of Lord's Test match. We've got the details to these and more after these messages.
You want to learn, you want success. We're here for you, we'll lend a hand. Your path is paved, your future is bright. You got the goals, and we've got the tools.
Meeting your educational goals just got easier. A Republic Education Loan features no down payment, reduced rates and fees. Call or visit us now at any of our branches island-wide. Special terms and conditions apply.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Share the great taste of Grace Foods.
Quality nutrition from generation to generation.
The goodness of Grace Foods.
Good morning. With the details, I am Gordon Joseph. President of Guyana, Dr. Irfan Ali, says that CARICOM's Ministerial Task Force on Agriculture has been asked to convene a strategic meeting to address the setback to the sector in the aftermath of Hurricane Beryl. In a live broadcast on Sunday, Ali said the impact of Hurricane Beryl on the Caribbean has been disastrous, and on some islands where the storm completely wiped out the agricultural sector, resulting in a direct setback to the region's vision of reducing the food import bill by 25% by 2025. To address the situation, he said a comprehensive analysis is needed on the impact in the affected countries. Ali, who has responsibility for agriculture within CARICOM, said the task force will also explore ideas on how the islands can rebuild, make technology available, and plant quick-yielding varieties to get some earnings back to farmers. The task force will also discuss price stability and critical commodities needed so that it can be supplied to the affected islands to avoid a further impact on the household or at the household level. The CARICOM chairman said he also intends to request the intervention of the Food and Agriculture Organization, that's the FAO, and the European Commission of Agriculture, the ECA, from an early stage to assist farmers and work with the region. While an assessment is still ongoing, Ali further noted that initial assessments have been shown that the agriculture sector has suffered tens of millions of dollars in losses. The affected islands are mainly Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Jamaica and Grenada. The minister for the two islands in Carriacou that Hurricane Beryl first slammed into with catastrophic winds had a simple message for UN and other humanitarian officials who asked what was needed. Anything that would allow a human being to survive. Tevin Andrews, who was in the devastated island of Carriacou Friday, where Beryl first made landfall as the earliest Category 4 hurricane in the Atlantic, also said when asked whether there was a flat space for humanitarian workers to set up tents, his response was, "The whole island is flat." Simon Springett, the top UN humanitarian official for the Eastern Caribbean and Barbados, who listened to Andrews' call and relayed his remarks to UN correspondents, said he didn't want to sound over-dramatic, but the islands were really dramatically, catastrophically hit. He said Beryl's fierce rains and wind late Monday in Carriacou knocked out desalination plants, cell towers, and fiber optic cables, left roads impassable, and destroyed probably 95% of housing along with local businesses and income-generating activities. Carriacou, with a population of 9,000, and nearby Pitimatnik, with a population of just about 2,000 in the southeast Caribbean, were hardest hit, and there is also damage on Grenada's mainland to the north to a lesser extent, affecting roughly 10,000 people, Springett said. In Carriacou, he said, communications were only re-established on Thursday, and the seas were so rough after Beryl that ships couldn't land there, and neither could planes because the control towers were out. In neighboring St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Springett said 3 islands with a total population of about 15,500 were also badly affected, namely Union Island, Mairo, and Canwan. Speaking from Grenada, Springett said that the UN is working closely with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and national disaster authorities to get help to those in need and sending in teams to assess the needs. The UN has released $1.5 million from its emergency humanitarian fund to be split between Grenada and St. Vincent for immediate life-saving assistance, he said. A logistics hub has also been set up in Barbados. Springett said Carriacou is now accessible. A Coast Guard vessel is in port. A French naval vessel was arriving on Friday, and a public ferry is traveling there every day. Finally, on the local scene, the United Kingdom has announced £500,000 aid package for Caribbean countries most severely impacted by Hurricane Beryl. This announcement was made by the newly appointed Foreign Secretary David Lammy. The financial support is intended to provide immediate relief to those whose homes and livelihoods have been affected by the hurricane. In addition to monetary aid, the UK has dispatched 800 emergency shelter kits capable of supporting up to 4,000 people. These kits, along with 1,620 buckets for water collection and storage, have already been sent to Grenada and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which suffered extensive damage earlier this week. The Foreign Secretary David Lammy said, "Our thoughts remain with those who have lost loved ones, their homes, or have been left without power. This funding will support disaster recovery efforts as part of a swift and coordinated response in the region. That such a storm has developed so early in the season shows that we are facing a climate emergency and must act now." The UK has also responded to a request from the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SIDEMA, by providing support for the deployment of regional teams. These teams will assist national disaster offices with emergency operations, relief and logistics management, telecommunications, security issues, and sectoral assessments. That's the local news. Stay with us. The regional roundup, along with the international news, are straight ahead. Don't you go anywhere. to 7 o'clock. We now join the Caribbean News Desk for this morning's edition of the Caribbean News Roundup.
The Caribbean News Desk, the morning edition. Good morning. I'm Kendall Morgan.
And I'm Dennis Chabrol with the latest from across the Caribbean. The United Nations has been using satellites to help conduct damage assessments in eastern Caribbean countries that have been ravaged by Hurricane Beryl. This disclosure was made at the weekend by UN Resident Coordinator to the Eastern Caribbean, Simon Springett.
The UN has a number of satellite assets, so we've also done UNOSAT flyovers and have done digital damage assessments based on those photographs.
Mr. Springett also says international and regional organizations are coordinating their responses to the disaster, mainly in Grenada's dependencies of Carriacou and Petit Martinique and St. Vincent's Union Island, Meru and Bequia. The UN resident coordinator says the aim is to deal with immediate needs and long-term planning.
I'm sitting in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development trying to discuss how the development partners can support the government here. So all of the development banks and the partners on how we can also concurrently be looking at the post-disaster reconstruction efforts. This does not mean in no way, shape, or form that the UN is not seized on the first phase response and to helping families and individuals, but we're trying to do this as concurrently as possible so the response is as coherent as possible in terms of national planning processes.
The United States has dispatched weapons and other supplies to Kenya's police who are deployed in Haiti. Under the auspices of the United Nations, the mission is there to fight against heavily armed gangs. The estimated 400 Kenyan police at the weekend received weapons and an armored personnel carrier to transport personnel and equipment during combat operations. In addition to the military hardware, the U.S. has provided the Kenyan force with a well-equipped restaurant, washing machines, and other essential supplies to enhance their living conditions and operational capabilities. The Kenyan base in Haiti has also been furnished with a fully stocked medical camp to address any emergency medical needs that may arise during their mission. The officers have also been granted access to Wi-Fi connectivity within their base to facilitate communication with their families back home.
Barbados is moving to establish a serious organized crime unit following a recent spike in violent crimes on the island. The special unit is among recommendations coming from an assessment by the International Police Assistance Service and which the Barbados police have accepted. Prime Minister Mia Mottley says her government has a meeting with the police on the matter.
The reality is that we have, over the course of the last few weeks in particular, having seen an abeyance of it for over 15, 16 months, seen a spike of crime where persons who know one another have been the victims of murder. The police have indicated to us in very clear terms that in many instances the cases of what we are seeing are not arbitrary crime, but are cases where people know each other and where in some instances you may even use the word vendetta.
Guyana's High Court has blocked Clico Bank, a subsidiary of the Trinidad headquarters CL Financial Group, which collapsed in 2009, from accessing $20 million. That money is being held in escrow by Guyana's Registrar of Deeds. The High Court upheld Attorney General Anil Nandla's argument that the Companies Act prevents any external company that is not registered in Guyana from maintaining legal proceedings. Justice Navendra Singh also barred the company from instituting similar further applications on the High Court of Guyana without leave of the court. That was Clico Investment Bank's fifth attempt to have the $20 million released to the company.
After often heated debate by various sections of the Vincentian Society over whether this year's carnival, popularly called Vincy Mass, should go ahead in the wake of the devastation caused by Hurricane Beryl, the authorities have decided to proceed with the celebrations.
Vincy Mass, I tell you. Vincy Mass, I warn you.
The decision means revelers will hit the streets today and tomorrow for the T-shirt band jump up and costume bands parade. This after the staging of the Calypso finals and the Soca Monarch competitions over the weekend. The Association of Evangelical Churches of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in opposing the move, said it strongly advocates a genuine national tone of empathy with those afflicted, which must not be conjoined with a season of festivities at this time. The powerful Hurricane Beryl hit St. Vincent and the Grenadines last Monday, leaving 2 dead and causing widespread infrastructural damage, especially on the Grenadines' dependencies of Canouan, Meru, and Union Island.
This has been the morning edition from the Caribbean News Desk. You may contact us by phone or WhatsApp at +592 700 9293. Thanks for listening.
Roundup, just an additional story here. We hear that Guyana's Vice President Barrett Jagdeo has announced that the government is currently fine-tuning a new piece of legislation aimed at protecting the state from responsibilities in the event of an oil spill offshore Guyana. Speaking during a recent press conference, Jagdeo said the legislative framework will set out the proposal procedures for oil spill preparation, planning, and response, as well as issues relating to liabilities and damages. It will also detail the state's responsibilities and the responsibilities of those accountable in the event of an oil spill. So, we would be equipped now with a tool, a law which says primarily that any company causes a spill, whether it is a shipping company, a production company, an exploration company, that they would all be responsible for the cleanup, and also that they would be responsible for consequential losses, that is due to the fishermen, and so should they be affected, so that it is basically the essence of the bill. We are working on this, Jagdeo said. He also said the government is looking at similar pieces of legislation from other jurisdictions in an effort to get a fair understanding of the various positions, and the goal is to get the piece of legislation sent to the National Assembly and passed soon. Well, you just heard it in the news roundup, the regional news roundup, that today is the actual staging of Vincimas. Well, we have some information. In St. Vincent, Delroy Fireman Hooper has taken the Soca Monarch crown for 2024. On Saturday night, Fireman outshined all competitors to take the crown for the 13th time. Hans John was also crowned Raga Soca Monarch at the Raga and Soca Monarch competition. We will endeavor to give you the results of the Calypso competition in our luncheon edition. Now, looking further afield, more than 130 million people in the United States are under threat from a long-running heat wave that has already broken records with dangerously high temperatures, forecasters said, adding that scorching heat will be felt from the East Coast to the West Coast. The heat and humidity could team up to spike temperatures above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just around 38 degrees Celsius, in parts of the Pacific Northwest, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast, so said Jacob Asherman, a meteorologist with the National Weather Services. Dozens of other records throughout the U.S. could fall, he said, causing millions to seek relief from the blanket of heat in cooling centers from Bullhead City in Arizona to Norfolk in Virginia. And that ends the international segment of news. Stay with us. The sporting highlights are straight ahead.
Struggling to secure a business loan
And good morning, sporting fans. We hear that the King has hosted the West Indies cricket team ahead of its first test match against England at Lord's. Charles, who is the head of the Commonwealth, expressed his care and concern for those affected by Hurricane Beryl as he met with the squad at Buckingham Palace on Saturday. The team were joined by high commissioners from across the Caribbean region. Earlier this week, the King sent his and his family's heartfelt condolences to the people of the region following the death and destruction caused by the hurricane. Charles spoke with the Prime Ministers of Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Jamaica on Friday to hear more about the situation on the ground, Buckingham Palace said. It is understood the King has asked to be kept informed about the situation of those affected by Hurricane Beryl and will likely make further calls with leaders in the coming days. The UK has announced a new support package of up to £500,000 for Caribbean countries affected by the destruction of the hurricane, which was the earliest Category 5 hurricane on record to form in the Atlantic. That concludes the international segment of news. Stay with us. The weather forecast is straight ahead. Weather forecast. We now join meteorologist at the Met Office of the MBIA, my good friend Jason Robertson. Good morning, Jason.
Morning to you and good morning to all listeners of GBN. Let's take a look at the weather for today, Monday, the 8th day of July, 2024. At Point Chalene, it is partly cloudy. A moderate breeze is from the east at 15 miles per hour. The barometric pressure is 13.9 millibars, which is above normal and rising. The present temperature 26.8 degrees Celsius, relative humidity 92%. Yesterday's maximum temperature was 29.8 degrees Celsius and the minimum last night 25.2 degrees Celsius. Over the past 24 hours, we had 4 millimeters of rain. The total for the month so far, 52.8 millimeters. Now for the public focus of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique, valid for today and tonight. The weather is expected to be generally fair and breezy, becoming partly cloudy at times with the isolated shower, improving during the afternoon. Today's maximum temperature should reach 31 degrees Celsius. The wind should be east-northeasterly to east-southeasterly at 12 to 22 miles per hour. The sea should be moderate with wave 4 to 6 feet in open waters. The tide is currently falling, will be low at 10 a.m. and high at 4 p.m. Sunset today 6:36, sunrise tomorrow 5:48. To repeat the forecast, the weather is expected to be generally fair and breezy, becoming partly cloudy at times with the isolated shower, improving during the afternoon. From the Maurice Bishop International Airport, Jason Robertson reporting.
Jason, before you run off, I just want to have a brief conversation. We know we have an overactive Atlantic hurricane season. We just had a tropical wave that traversed us over the weekend. Are there any other waves or depressions on the shoreline for us?
Well, in the Atlantic, there is one wave to the east of us, which is about 33 degrees west.
Okay. Any signs of it getting organized and impacting us anytime soon?
Not at this point in time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for the good news.
Okay.
Have yourself a great day now.
Okay, you too.
Folks, the weather forecast came to you with the kind compliments of Rennick and Thompson Company Limited.
Struggling to secure a business loan because of limited credit history or loan security? The Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee has the security you need. The Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee, ECPCGC, is a bridge to accessible financing for micro, small, and medium enterprises in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. backed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank with funding from the World Bank. We work with financial institutions to help MSMEs get credit to stay in business, grow their business, or invest in green technologies. Our process is simple. Apply for a loan at your local lender. If collateral is in question, our partial credit guarantee is the answer.
At 12 minutes after 7 o'clock to end the news, a recap of the headlines. The UK pledges £500,000 for hurricane burial relief. In the region, Guyana government fine-tuning legislation on oil spill protection. Internationally, record-breaking heatwave threatens 130 million people in the U.S. And in sports, we hear that King Charles hosted West Indies cricket team ahead of their Lord's Test match against the English cricket team. Now, that has been the morning edition of news for today, Monday, July 8th, 2024. On behalf of the entire news department, I am Gordon Joseph, thanking you for listening, wishing you a productive day, and extending the invitation to you to stick and stay with the network, because we are with you anywhere and everywhere.
Grenada for decades. We are the #1 and largest electrical supplier.
Hi, welcome to Sunny Electrical. How may I help?
We offer electrical wire and accessories, tools and appliances for all residential, commercial and industrial applications, which is what we are known for. And we expanded our products with new innovative ways to modernize your home. New homeowners will be captivated in our lighting showrooms.
Some more pendant lights here. These are very multifunctional because they can work for kitchens, living rooms, bedrooms.
We have a wide selection of lighting, ranging from indoor to outdoor and solar. We are also available for site visit services to assist you with selecting the perfect light for your forever home. We are located at Dusty Highway in Grenada, St. George. Sudden Electrical. Best value, expert advice, quality products. We hope to see you soon.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call Grenlec at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. Make sure your generator has an isolation switch. It will prevent power from feeding to our lines and electrocuting others. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Are you looking for a reliable, affordable, and customer-friendly pharmacy? Look no further than Hills and Valley Pharmacy, the nation's leading healthcare products and services provider. We are committed to serving you at convenient locations. Find an extensive and affordable selection of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and medical supplies at Church Street, Hillsborough, Carriacou, Jubilee Street, Grenville, St. Andrew, near the bus terminal, and Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George. Our committed team is always available to offer valuable assistance for managing your health and wellness. Discover the additional benefits of our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street and our Medcare Center on Grenville Street, where we provide in-house physiotherapy, massage therapy, doctor consultations, and eye care services. Our commitment is to satisfy all your healthcare needs, including competitive prices, loyalty rewards, and special discounts for seniors. Contact us at 435-6904 and WhatsApp 535-4734. Choose Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Remember, your health is our business.
You know, one day I woke up and, you know, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. You know, nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross. And only when you have come to a complete stop, that is when they will quickly and safely cross to the other side. And then you continue happily on your journey.
Stop, look, hand out, eye contact, wait for pedestrian to cross. Then you happily continue on your journey.
This message is brought to you by this group of insurance companies, the Traffic Advisory Body, and the Traffic Department.
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conversation this morning, and it's a very good morning to have two goodly gentlemen with me in the studio. To my immediate right is Mr. Jason Phillip. He is the newly appointed Director of the Government Information Service, the GIS, and to his immediate right is Father Gerard Paul. This morning he's not talking so much on his clerical responsibilities, but his humanitarian efforts from his company's perspective. That's Spicel Imaging, all right, the efforts in assisting our brothers and sisters in Carriacou and Pity Martinique. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, thank you very much.
Right,
good morning to our listeners.
Right, it's a pleasure to have you both here. I'm going to start off with Mr. Phillip, the newly appointed Director of the Government Information Service. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, and let me say good morning to all of Pity Martinique, Carriacou and Grenada. It's a pleasure to be here, notwithstanding the current circumstances that we are in, but I'm very, very happy to be here so that we can put some perspective as to what's going on within government and surrounding the efforts to bring relief to all of the persons who have been affected in our nation.
Good. Well, I'm just going to clarify some of the concerns that people might have before we get into the meat of the matter. You were appointed the new Director of GIS the day before the hurricane. Was that planned?
Well, I take it that the actual appointment time was not necessarily planned. It had to be escalated. However, a process began with government almost a year before to ascertain the needs of the Government Information Service. And then there was a consultant which came in, did their role, and then provided the government with documentation as to how to proceed. Government then went through the process of having interviews the post was posted so that all and sundry could apply. And just as everyone else, I applied. I sent in my CV, and I was then interviewed along with other persons, and then a decision was made. So I was not aware of the decision until I was called the night before, and I was then advised that I have been appointed and I am required to come in ASAP, and we're talking about 9 p.m.
On Sunday night?
On Sunday night, yes. And so from then, we say the rest is history.
Okay, so what's your background?
I have been for the past 8 years in working for a multimedia company, regionally at that, and so I have very extensive background when it comes to multimedia, including internet, social media, print media, and all of that. I am not a spring chicken when it comes to this.
Okay.
Certainly not.
All right. So does that mean that, well, you are going to transform and, make the GIS even more technologically advanced in all the platforms that are available?
Well, I would simply say this. I do believe that the government is forward thinking in what it wants when it comes to communication. It is a two-way thing. And so with the mandate that the government has in terms of transformation for all sectors, I do believe that the Government Information Service is top, front and center in that charge. And so my arrival here is going to see just that. We are going to fulfill the mandate that government will set, and we will continue to exceed what they're asking of us. We are the face of the government of Grenada. We are going to be bringing our country and our people to the world. And as you can see already, we have already started, and you can see from the reactions that we're getting from the international community based on our coverage of the current events that we have been doing quite a splendid job with our existing teams. And I want to say thank you so much to my team, all the employees at the GIS. They have been working over and beyond the call of duty. In some cases, we have individuals who are only today getting a day off from working from non-stop from Sunday night till present. So it has been a mammoth task. I must say that our team has opened their hearts and they have been very flexible. They empathize with all of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and they are giving it their best shot. And I am saying the same thing is happening for all of government. We are seeing that outpour of the government service. Everyone is going way beyond the call of duty to ensure that we can meet the mandate as it pertains to keeping our people safe, keeping our people secure, and to make sure that the relief that they need gets to them in a timely manner.
Right. So now that we've gone through the preamble, yes, your task from Sunday night to present, how has it been?
Oh, my goodness. I would say that the circumstances have been extremely fluid. Decisions are being made on as we go based on information that has been put before our decision makers. I don't believe that many people understand that when you have a circumstance as what we are now faced with, that many decisions cannot be made in advance. And so as information is brought in, our Prime Minister and his cabinet, they have been taking the bull by the horn, and they are making decisions on the basis of what is important. They have prioritized responses, and when the instructions come downstream, then the entire mechanism has to follow. So similarly, once we are receiving information at the GIS, we have been able to ascertain and augment our team movements to ensure that the general public is keeping up with what is happening in the fluidity of the circumstance. So it has been a mammoth task, and I said that it is a lot of sacrifices. We're speaking about persons working more than 36 hours at a shift in order to ensure that the information comes out. And one thing we must also be guided is that we do not want to put people in harm's way. That is part of the priority of the government. So persons in terms of the rest of the media houses during this event have not necessarily had direct access to a lot of areas where responses have been happening, but the GIS has been open to allow for the footage and feeds to come so that everyone can see what is happening in real time. And I must say that we're literally speaking first-hand response. We're talking about the frontline responses. The first response team that went in for an assessment, that would have been on Tuesday morning. The GIS had a representative representative on there and documented all what that team saw. We have already published this particular piece of footage, and we are proud to say that people are up to today. Whatever you need to know that is happening is what you see is current. And so through social media, we're seeing now that there's quite a lot of coverage on social media, not just from the GIS, but also from citizens and residents and other organizations who are currently on the ground in Petit Martinique and Carriacou, as well as in the north of Grenada. So we will speak more about this as we move along, but there is quite a lot happening, and we want to say that government is open, government is functioning, and government is intensifying its effort to ensure that relief and that the process of rebuilding will take place as quickly as possible.
Having said that, and I can tell you already, the responses from our social media platforms are very happy with your leadership thus far at the GIS. Quite a number of folks in the diaspora are very happy that you are, the person at the helm now. And in terms of getting your team motivated and pushed, how difficult a task is that?
Well, I would say that was not a very difficult task at all. Like I said before, our team at the GIS, they are definitely a motivated group. They are a well-oiled machine. They are professionals at that. And it's just a matter of guidance and getting information in so that we can augment how people move, what they do. We have on a day-by-day basis been briefing our team on a day-by-day basis, been making decisions as to who does what based on their skill sets, their strengths, and to ensure that persons are able to know, as after we are now going on 6 days after, that we can start giving persons a bit of downtime so that they can recoup. We are a very small team, but we cannot afford to lose not one person. And just to put it into perspective, if I lose any particular member of my team to any form of injury or illness at this point, it potentially could be either 100% of a particular department or 50% of that department.
Wow.
So we have to be very resourceful as to how we work and what we do. But I can say that the team is highly motivated, they're very dedicated, and they're very passionate about being able to serve at this point in time because of what is happening. We recognize the need to serve our people right now, just as the rest of the government is doing right now. And I must say that our Prime Minister has been doing that exceptionally, and so we are following his lead.
Okay, that's remarkable news there. I'm going to bring on Father Paul on the set at the moment. Through spy-cell imaging, you visited Carriacou,
right? And
what are your thoughts? What did you feel from Carriacou?
It's very hard to express, to talk about the situation there in Carriacou. Actually, I went up to rescue our staff because the communication was completely down, as we know. I think it's still very bad. There was no usage of phone. You couldn't contact anybody within Carriacou through the phone, for example, and out of Carriacou as well. So I went up last Tuesday morning, and thankfully, I just got a really strong feeling. It was not just a feeling. The reality was that you can see that the rescue effort was well in place. In fact, that's how I got up to Carriacou. Mr. Clinton Bailey and his team, I don't know who he represents. I saw him Friday night and I tried to speak to him, but he was busy. I wanted to know who he represents. He was just organizing relief stuff, loading stuff on boat and so on and so forth. I think the NADMA people were there. I think so. Anyhow. So I got a boat ride and I went up there, and just riding into Carriacou, you just very, very deep sadness descended upon everyone on the boat, the little boat, Carriacou was unrecognizable, it looked exactly as if a fire had passed through Carriacou. And I traveled the island about half of the island during those 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. And it just looked like a fire. I mean, every tree if it is standing, the branches, as if somebody went with a saw and just chop off the branches. So when you look into the hills or the valleys, what you've seen is darkness. Nothing green, nothing illuminating. It's just darkness because it's the dark arms of the trees that are standing there. The ground look patched. I mean, everything just looked terrible. In my view, Ivan was a cake to burial. I was in St. David's in the time of Ivan, and we got the brunt of it. My church had just been repaired. We had just repaired the church to the tune of $1.4 million, and it sustained some serious damage, as well as the house that I presbytery I was living in the next building there. But it is just Carriacou. The word that comes to mind is devastated, disseminated. Just really terrible, really sad. You come in on dock and you look at the boats. As a matter of fact, first thing to say about the boats is that I saw Dolly C, which is a pretty big boat, cargo boat going into Carriacou, and another big one, way up in the bush. So that's to tell you how serious the tides are. A big boat, way up in the bush, just packed up in the bush, you know, and the dry dock area right there, I mean, the boats just tumbled, they mashed up, they masked it. So that means the wind was just tossing them about. I saw 3 instances of containers, 40 feet. Foot containers that were moved. One was moved up a hill, I'm told, and then down the hill. I saw another one resting on top of a vehicle. So it was literally lifted up. People tell you, but they see these things being lifted up. Really, really, really sad. Debris everywhere, galvanized wood. The electrical poles are broken. I mean, when they tell you that 98% of the house stock sustained damage or decimated, destroyed. That's no exaggeration. Okay. Absolutely no exaggeration. And the total to be communicado within Carriacou is a terrible thing. So, for example, I had to foot it because there was no public transportation at the time. I don't know what it obtains. You can't get a taxi. So I have to foot it all the way from, I did get a ride here and there in the rain, walking in the rain. I have to walk to go to pick up, to find the stuff. You found the stuff, you communicated, you foot it back, you get a ride, whatever. People have been very, very generous. Everybody will stop and tell you, and I'm not going that far, and people are very, very generous. And the next day, when I did make boat arrangement and so on, so you can't charge your phone is down now, there's no place to charge your phone, and all that kind of thing. You had to go down to Harveyville, one of the big rescue. God is so amazing that one of the big graces was, and continues to be, I believe, a catamaran boat down in the dock that has satellite connections. And that's where everybody will have to go to make a phone call to their loved ones away and so on and so forth. Okay. So I was able to contact Grenada to say, okay, the folks are all right. But then now to arrange for them to travel, to come down. Then I have to find myself the next day to go back to pick him up. Of course, there's no transportation. You get in a ride, you're wetting in the rain, you're walking in the rain, you're running in the rain to pick him up, to bring him, to find the next staff. So could you imagine people have to live like that on a daily basis in Carriacou?
Having heard that, from the government's point of view, where are we now in Carriacou?
Okay, so I would want to pull back just a little bit, and there's quite a lot of ground to cover, and I want to be very clear so that the public understands all what is happening. We have spoken quite a bit at length at Carriacou so far, but I just want to pull some perspective as to what's going on across the board, so that we can be a bit more precise. I want to first by saying to all of the volunteers and to all of the folks who have worked over the weekend gone, because we have had two major operations happening, both here on the mainland as well as what is happening in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, relative to escalating and bringing relief and bringing clearance to operationalize the further push so that we could get into the cleanup, heavy cleanup, and as well as to get into the rebuilding phase. Right now, the government of Grenada is still heavily focused on relief and to get access to locations that we still have not gotten access to. It has been quite an immense task. So, two operations happened. The one that happened in Carriacou and Petit Martinique was a surge on Saturday and Sunday of volunteers going into Carriacou and Petit Martinique as a means of, first of all, receiving quite a lot of aid. They were packaging and they were about to distribute aid to every length, to the length and breadth of Petit Martinique and Carriacou. This happened for both days, and I must say I will get into the groups and organizations who participated then, but it has been a massive success in terms of getting aid in and getting access. Now, on Friday, there was a smaller operation, but an operation nonetheless, which was an advance party who were dispatched to Carriacou and Petit Martinique as a means of start clearing the roads and to prepare the port for what was going to happen on Saturday and Sunday in Carriacou. That operation saw a very skilled advance team go in, and they were able to clear a significant portion of the roadways so that the brand new trucks and all the equipment that government sent in on Friday night was able to traverse the roads on Saturday and Sunday. So it is a very well coordinated effort. It is a very focused, and we have quite a lot of professionals who are guiding the process. And so we are being led strongly by our members of parliament, by our ministers of government and the Prime Minister, and the work is getting done. In Grenada in particular, there was a surge on the weekend where we had the national cleanup drive, which was focused on the two most affected parishes, which was St. Mark and St. Patrick. Those were spearheaded by the Ministry of Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, and Minister Andy Williams led the charge where this was concerned. However, his entire ministerial colleagues, they all banded together, and they located themselves at different points so that they could help in managing the process and giving people a sense of hope and direction that, hey, we are here with you. And they were not just saying, we're here with you. Their hands was on the ground, their boots were on the ground, and they were working along with every Grenadian who turned out. So I want to take this opportunity to say to everyone that we are grateful as a government, we are pleased as a government, and we continue to encourage persons to give of themselves, to give of their time, so that we could help our brothers and sisters in need at this point. The government is very, very focused, along with our international and regional partners, to ensure that we get this job done. But we're not just looking at just the recovery phase that everyone goes back to normal, but there will be improvements coming, as the Prime Minister highlighted. So it means that we are now pushing towards bettering and preparing ourselves for what may come. Remember, this is just the beginning of the hurricane season, and we do not know what is yet to come following this particular event. I get the sense that folks have been confused because there's quite a lot of chatter happening around, especially on social media. So I just want to give an overview as to what has been happening, how things have been unfolding, and we'll start calling some names in terms of organizations and what really has been going on. Now, I have my tablet here, and I would say that based on the information, it is so much that I want to take a structured approach so that I don't lose people along the way.
Please do.
All right. So the government has employed a structured approach to manage the response and the hurricanes, respond to the hurricane's impact through 5 distinct stages. It was preparation, assessment, relief, response, cleanup, and rebuilding. Now, for preparation, days before Hurricane Beryl arrival, the nation was advised by our meteorological office as to what was coming our way. Citizens were made aware of the potential impact and were guided on how to prepare effectively. So that was a preparation. No one was in a blindsided that they didn't know this was coming. And so it was part of the process. NADMA led the way to ensure that all these things were done ahead of time as part of its preparation effort, and now what you're seeing, the response. Now, the second was an assessment. Now, immediately after the impact of the hurricane happened, one of the first things that need to happen, you have to be able to assess the situation so you can know what exactly was the results of this massive hurricane passing over our shores, to know where specific has been impacted, how much the impact has really affected those affected areas, and whether or not you get a sense as to how to mobilize so that you can go in to start saving people and start bringing those services in. So a team, after the all clear was given, and this happened the morning after, teams were dispatched locally on the ground, and so you had professionals come from all different disciplines led by NADMA who went into the field and went around the entire country, looking at and assessing the damages locally here. The teams that had to go to Carriacou and Petit Martinique, they were also mobilized and they were dispatched. Now, I want to take this moment to mention Mr. Clinton Bailey. Now, Mr. Bailey, he contacted the Prime Minister and he said, Mr. Prime Minister, I wish to offer my services of my fishing vessel. So anytime you need it, whatever the case, we want to help. And I must say that the morning after, based on the sea conditions, that the Coast Guard vessel was unable to venture out because those are smaller vessels. And Mr. Bailey's vessel was the vessel that we had as an immediate, so that first response assessment team, along with security services, was able to make it to Carriacou the morning after. So we want to say a heartfelt thank you from the government of Grenada, because due to that gallant an outpour of such generosity and risking his vessel to go in for the very first, this is not something that should be taken lightly.
Now, I want to interject here.
Yes.
Isn't this a point for concern? I mean, in as much as we appreciate, and I'm saying we as a Grenadian people appreciate the generosity and the benevolence of Mr. Bailey, but isn't it an eye-opener that the Coast Guard could not go where a private citizen's vessel could have gone?
Well, I would simply say this: risk. When you analyze risk based on equipment that you currently have, you have to make the best and most relevant decision at that time. Though there may be a cause for concern, we also have to understand that the circumstances that we are seeing is not normal, and so the government will, at its avail, go and work with any and every piece of resource that is available locally. So I would say that, understanding the circumstance, this is, as the Prime Minister said, that we are now being affected by conditions and circumstances that are not normal. But as they become now the routine for us, we now have to augment. But we need to understand that these things cost. Not just cost to acquire, but they cost to maintain. And so in the downtime, when we're not having the bad weather and we're not having that, these monies still have to be made available to make these happen. You know, we have a very small economy and that we are a very vulnerable country, and so this is where the Prime Minister has made his valiant plea that those industrialized countries, the nations who can afford and who are now contributing heavily to the conditions that we are now seeing due to the world and the global climate conditions, we are saying that we see exactly where the help needs to come from, and we cannot just be speaking about tokenism when it comes to giving us help. We want to see actual cash, because to maintain the Coast Guard, to update them, to give them whatever they need, needs cash. And so even the manpower to train and all of that, it needs cash. So we are going to see some changes as we move forward. However, the government of Grenada will be embarking on the ways and means in terms of how it's going to be able to raise all the necessary funding. So not just that we can acquire stuff, but how we can properly maintain, how we can train our manpower to ensure that for the future we're able to respond in ways that would be more beneficial for saving our people.
So now we can
proceed. Certainly. So after the assessment was done, right, the relief and response kicked in immediately, right? The relief efforts was mobilized swiftly to prevent further loss of life and to stabilize the vulnerable populations that we have in different parts of the island, as well as Carriacou and Petit Martinique, right? This included the distribution of emergency supplies and provision of medical care to those who were in need. So we're talking now that as boots are on the ground, at that immediate stage, that we had to mobilize these things, and these things literally began the morning after the storm. So there was this misconception, I think, that folks thought that nothing was getting to Carriacou and Petit Martinique. There were vessels, and I would say not only there were private vessels, there were small fishing vessels. Again, Mr. Bailey, he arranged with a flotilla of small vessels that at the port in front of the police station, at the central police station, they were loaded with as much as they can take supplies, and they were dispatched simultaneously to both Carriacou and Petit Martinique the morning after. So there was supplies which started literally the morning after, and it was penetrating Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Now keep in mind, at that point in time, the roadways were still blocked. You were talking about debris all over the place. There was not a means on how you can move volume into every nook and cranny. But based on the assessment that was on the ground, the most vulnerable people were immediately assisted based on the first set of relief that went in on both islands, including the north of Grenada. Okay, the cleanup efforts. The next stage is cleanup. The initial focus has been on clearing debris from roads to facilitate the movement of emergency vehicles and relief equipment. This stage ensures that resources and technical teams can access the most affected areas. Now, I want to clarify something here. Those first 4 stages, right, have all been running concurrently. So it is not going in a perfect 1, 2, 3. The need has been that we had to activate and augment all 4 stages, from preparation, assessment, relief, response, and cleanup immediately. And so what you have seen over the past 6 days has been a massive flow of well-organized, I would say a well-organized engine through the NADMA network. And I must say that Dr. Walters and his team, though they have been limited in scope, have had their regional and international partners come in, and they have been supporting this massive drive in terms of to ensure that Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique receive all the assistance and services that it needs. This particular now, it's seeing us getting ready to move into the next stage while all of these continue, which is the rebuilding phase. And the rebuilding phase has begun with measures to provide temporary shelter to protect from the elements to all affected persons. So what you're seeing now is that there is a massive push. We're not talking about now reconstruction in terms of we're breaking down and rebuilding, but we're talking now we're trying to secure persons, to keep them out of the elements, to take the most vulnerable persons and secure them into shelters, or provide them with temporary roofing material, which in this case mostly is tarpaulins, and to ensure that all of the necessary gear and relief supplies that they need by households are being taken care of. So over the weekend you would have seen a massive push to ensure that all of these things are happening. And again, we cannot dispel that this is now a coordinated effort by the government of Grenada and its regional and international partners, and a whole host of volunteers from our local communities. And so we want to continue to impress that this is going to be intensifying as we move forward. However, as we go further into this discussion this morning, we want to stress how important it is that we all understand that this must be a coordinated effort. It cannot be vai-ki-vai, it cannot be just all over the place. And so NADMA and the government of Grenada is making it quite clear that we do not want persons just acting on their own. We know everyone has the best, wants the best, and everyone wants to help. But the only way that you can help is in an organized fashion. And so there are channels which have been set up so that we can identify folks who want to help, that we can also give you the opportunity so that we can position you at a place and at a time where you can actually make a positive effect, not just contribute to a congestion or contribute to a problem where we cannot actually make the system work.
So in essence, the approach is most strategic.
Very much so. very much so. I want to also state that there's quite a lot of technology that is now being employed in this entire effort. One of the technologies that were able to allow for the Prime Minister and his team to make quick decisions relative to the response, relative to how this event impacted, was satellite imagery using artificial intelligence. Our friends at the Tony Blair Institute, who are here on the ground and have been here on the ground even before the storm, they were able, using and let me just pull it up here. It says it is a Planet Sky imagery asset, which basically it's a satellite which basically takes photos and images of affected areas, and using the artificial intelligence software, it's able to ascertain, based on the footprints of buildings that are there, whether or not it is partially damaged, completely destroyed, and so. So initially, before boots were on the ground, this was done, and we were able to get a scope as to exactly how terrible this was, and so that the Prime Minister and his team could have made some forward and advancing decisions. So let me just give you the morning after.
That sounds up his alley, the morning after pill. But let's take a commercial break. We'll be back after these messages as we continue. Folks, I'm speaking with Mr. Jason Phillip, the Director of the Government Information Service, and Father Gerard Paul this morning in his capacity as the head of the Spice Isle Imaging, as we all, as Grenadians, coordinate all our energies and efforts to reach out to those of our brothers and sisters who are in need at this time after the passage of Hurricane Beryl last Monday. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere.
Served Grenada for decades. We are the #1 and largest electrical supplier.
Hi, welcome to Sunny Electrical. How may I help?
We offer electrical wire and accessories, tools, and appliances for all residential, commercial, and industrial applications, which is what we are known for. And we expanded our products with new innovative ways to modernize your home. New homeowners will be captivated in our lighting showrooms.
Some more pendant lights here. These are very multifunctional because they can work for kitchens, living rooms, bedrooms.
We have a wide selection of lighting, ranging from indoor to outdoor and solar. We are also available for site visit services to assist you with selecting the perfect light for your forever home. We are located at Dusty Highway in Grenada and St. George. Sudden Electrical. Best value, expert advice, quality products. We hope to see you soon.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call Grenlec at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. Make sure your generator has an isolation switch. It will prevent power from feeding to our lines and electrocuting others. For more information, visit grenlec.com.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Are you looking for a reliable, affordable, and customer-friendly pharmacy? Look no further than Hills and Valley Pharmacy, the nation's leading healthcare products and services provider. We are committed to serving you at convenient locations. Find an extensive and affordable selection of prescription and over-the-counter drugs and medical supplies at Church Street, Hillsborough, Carriacou, Jubilee Street, Grenville, St. Andrew, near the bus terminal, and Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George. Our committed team is always available to offer valuable assistance for managing your health and wellness. Discover the additional benefits of our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street and our Medcare Center on Grenville Street, where we provide in-house physiotherapy, massage therapy, doctor consultations, and eye care services. Our commitment is to satisfy all your healthcare needs, including competitive prices, loyalty rewards, and special discounts for seniors. Contact us at 435-6904 and WhatsApp 535-4734. Choose Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Remember, your health is our business.
You know, one day I woke up and, you know, they painted a set of pedestrian crossing all along the streets. You know, nobody told us how to use that thing properly.
I know how.
You're serious?
Every safe, good driver knows about these things. As a driver, you have to be very attentive. You know you're coming up close to a pedestrian cross, you start slowing down immediately, looking to see if there's any pedestrian on the side getting ready to cross. If there is, you stop on the line that is a certain distance before the crosswalk. Then you would see the pedestrian put their hands out, looking directly at you, indicating that they are going to cross.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners, to the conversation, speaking with Mr. Jason Phillip, the Director of the Government Information Service, and Father Gerard Paul. We're continuing from where we left out in terms of where we are now and moving forward.
Yes. So as I was speaking towards the technology that was employed to allow for the Prime Minister and his team to somewhat have a snapshot view the morning after on the basis of the ravages for both the north of the island, Petit Martinique and Carriacou. I just wanted to give some stats that they saw the morning after that allowed for them to know how intense they needed to start mobilizing. And so what was seen, and we're speaking specific to the island of Carriacou now, what was seen was that the satellite showed that there was a total of about just a little over 3,500 buildings that it did an assessment of. And of those, it basically gave some of the following stats. It said that buildings which were between 0 to 20% damaged, it was saying that 45% of those buildings were either little or partially damaged, right? So it meant that maybe roof off, that there was a partial collapse of the structure, something that would have considered to be not extremely major, but it was substantial enough that it could have recognized that was damage. And that is from a satellite that is circling overhead in orbit, right? We're talking about miles up in the air. It said here that buildings that were damaged between 20% and 40% damage, right? It was 3%. So we're talking about this is heavy damage where we have substantial collapsing. Maybe the entire roof is gone, and that everything or the building seems to start looking more unsafe. It was showing here that buildings between 40 to 60% of damage. It was showing just over 5%. And mind you, this imagery that we're seeing was partially being affected by cloud cover, because after the hurricane passed, there was quite a bit of cloud cover. So it was just estimating, all right? It was also showing that damages between 60 to 80% was about 5% of buildings. And it was showing that buildings between 80 and 100% destruction was approximately 41%. Wow. All right? So you see right here that of the 100, it is showing here that of the total figure, it was showing that almost 100% of the building stock in Carriacou up to that snapshot was affected by the hurricane. So with that type of insight, and we say technology, we were able to have the government make decisions even before having boots on the ground. And as communication went down, the Prime Minister and his team was able to make a somewhat informed decision with preliminaries, right? That was able to see such a swift and a very specific reaction coordination from the team on mainland Grenada. So I want to say that as we move forward, we are seeing now how science and technology plays a critical role for us when it comes to decision making, especially when it comes to natural hazards and when it comes to all these types of things that are affecting us due to climate change and so. It is not getting better, and I think we need to be real about this in our small nation. We have to understand that we are now in a state of preparation for what is to come, because we can only expect more and more of this type of conditions will continue to affect us. We just came up from a period of extreme drought, no water falling from the sky, very limited supplies, and now we're going into an extreme condition of now where we have an extreme weather condition. And this, folks, is the very first time in recording history that a hurricane of this intensity has actually come to existence this early in the hurricane season.
And it's cause for concern, yeah, and for more reasons than one. Now, our trees are very important as it relates to us getting rain.
Yes.
And with our tree stock being diminished now, it would affect us when that season comes back around.
Oh yes, oh definitely. And as the Prime Minister rightfully said, that we now have to look at the replanting, we have to look at the restructuring of our forests. I mean, we're talking our mangroves. It's total devastation. We have received total devastation in our pristine islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Now, a lot of folks have been complaining that we're speaking so much about Carriacou and Petit Martinique. The north of the island has also received quite a battering. The only difference with the north of the island is that we from the south can drive and we can get quicker access. We can bring in a lot more equipment and so in a shorter period of time to ensure that we're able to affect positively what is happening on the ground there. The issue with Carriacou and Petit Martinique is that we have to mobilize over the sea. And at Carriacou and Petit Martinique, the facilities there are very limited. The port is not a large port. The areas where in Petit Martinique, for example, where the circumstances are where we have to land materials and then sort and so. It's a very small area. So we're going to be speaking about this as we move along, because there's quite a lot people need to know about what is happening with the relief efforts there and how things are affecting the people there at this point in time. We have some concerns and we want to share those concerns this morning so that we can get everyone on the same page. We want everyone to continue helping. We want everyone to have that passion and that burn, but we want to do it in a coordinated way, because there are things now that are starting, the good is starting to affect on the ground in some negative ways, and we just want to abate that from happening, and we want to continue surging the support and the assistance in. I want to take the opportunity now to speak towards where these assistance is coming from, right? Our locals, our regional and our international counterparts who are here, as well as our volunteers who are also putting in that task. So I just want to speak a little bit towards that. Now, I would not be able to give the names of everyone, but we are going to be very visual. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me. You're going to be hearing a lot more of me from all other radio networks, and so we are as things progress, we will continue to call and make mention of persons. So I'm saying to our friends out there, our partners, if you're not hearing me speaking of you right now, please bear with me. You will be recognized, but at this point in time, we are just going to talk about some of the key players who we know are currently on the ground. So we would like to speak about our consulates and international assistance that we've been receiving. Now, consulates from various friendly countries have responded and are assisting with the ongoing response efforts, including equipment mobilization, human resource deployment, and relief efforts. These countries include Germany, China, the United States of America, the United Kingdom, Canada, and others which are in contact or have mobilized their assistance and are currently incoming. So we have a lot of supplies, resources, manpower, equipment, technology that are inbound at this point, and so they have not yet touched our shores. But what I can say, there is a armada of equipment and so on these vessels coming into our country, okay? And we are very grateful as a government, we are very grateful as a people, so that we have all these friendly countries out there who are looking out for us, and they are willing to act to ensure that we can become resilient and to just take care of the immediate that we have. in our local organizational support, we have many local organizations and individuals which are supporting the government's response. These include the Grenada Red Cross, YEAC, which is a part of Caritas, which is the Catholic Church, ADRA, ADRA, which is from the Adventist Church, the Grenada Cadet Corps, which is this is a government institution which is based at secondary schools, and so this organization is under the Prime Minister's Ministry of National Security, and so they have responded almost immediately. The Lions Club, Girl Guides of Grenada, the Muslim community, Mr. Clinton Bailey and his boating fraternity, and we have to also mention Senator Salim Rahman, our very own senator here in Grenada, and he arranged with again a boating fraternity to bring a whole lot of supplies and services up to Carriacou and Petit Martinique. There are many other actors on the ground right now, but I said, please forgive me, we will continue to mention more as we move forward. Business contributions. Local, wholesale, retail, and distribution businesses have contributed and continue to do so. These include companies such as George F. Huggins, Hubbard's, Real Value, the Country Cold Store, and many more. Like I said, we don't have enough time to start calling everyone, but we will continue to add as we come on lives in various stations, and so we will continue to mention and make note of who these new people are. Regional and international organizations which support. We have Samaritan's Purse, and everyone would have recognized through the news that Samaritan's Purse has made a very significant impact on the relief effort. They landed here with the aircraft. They currently have helicopters on the ground which are now working in Carriacou and Petit Martinique, and they are airlifting supplies from Carriacou into Petit Martinique, and they're moving items from the mainland over to Carriacou using helicopter service. Now, this is what I'm saying in terms of the response is very significant at this point in time. We have World Food Kitchen, we have Sedima with its affiliates ARNAT, ARNAT, and CDRU. We have the World Food Program. We have the United Nations, who has different subcategory organizations which are also responding. These include UNICEF, UN Women, and UNDCHA. We have IMO, PAHO, and WHO. We have the Tony Blair Foundation, we have DART, and we have the Guyana Defense Force. Now, especially, let me speak a little bit about Guyana. The president of Guyana and the people of Guyana, the government and people of Guyana, have been one of the countries who have responded immediately. They called and they briefed our Prime Minister, and they were pushing their support on, and they were ready to roll, and this is something that they did. We are now seeing lots and lots of supplies. The Defense Force is having boots on the ground at this point. They are coordinating in the cleanup, they're coordinating in the rebuilding efforts, and there's so much relief supplies that have come in, not just food items, but also building supplies have started coming in, and you're seeing lumber, you're seeing roofing material, a whole lot of this stuff is coming in, and they're not just sending it to put it on the ground, but they're sending the manpower and the resources in to help construct and to help install these things which they're sending in. So we are very grateful for this, and this is the type of thing that's happening not just with Guyana, but we're seeing it with other friendly governments. Trinidad and Tobago, they mobilized as well. When the Osprey and the Amelia, they went to Trinidad for safe harbor before the hurricane, and when they were responding to come back home, the government of Trinidad said, whoa, we are going to load you with items from us, and we want you to deliver them up. And so when both the Osprey vessels and the Amelia docked in Port St. George, at the very first time, they were loaded with supplies and relief from the government and people of Trinidad and Tobago. So we're seeing quite a massive movement happening from our regional partners and from our international partners. Now, we want to speak towards the coordination and the support that's happening. It's a very comprehensive thing that is happening right now. All agencies, countries, and organizations, inclusive of the mass turnout of volunteers, are providing cleanup solutions, relief items, equipment, both heavy equipment and specialized equipment, technical support, distribution solutions, human resource management, and human resource. So they're sending human resources as well as providing the management services along with that.
Wow.
Right? We have disaster response technologies which are coming in and which are being set up. We're having communication solutions and much more. Now, specific to communications, we have to give credit where credit is due. Now, in the massive impact of our communication system, which saw the entire islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique in complete blackout, we had an immediate mobilization from our telecoms companies. Both Flow and Digicel were in that first movement when we had the assessment teams going up the morning after. They were on board the vessel and they went up and did their assessment. They checked equipment, they reported back, and then the following day we noticed that we started getting connectivity in some small pockets. It's because they dispatched their teams and they started bringing up whatever infrastructure they could at that given moment. So currently to date, we're seeing that there are areas in Carriacou and partially in Petit Martinique where, as we call it, where some of the towers are able to give services, so persons can go to certain selected areas in the country right now with your cell phone and you're able to connect with your folks, connect with your families, connect with the mainland. And so they continue to ramp up the efforts, and I think that they have recently installed a mobile communication plant so that they could add to the veracity and add to the network so that more and more persons can get coverage. Now, they are doing that, as well as the other utility companies, both Nawasa and Grenlec, have intensified their approach on the ground. Grenlec is moving swiftly to not only clear, but they are starting to plant poles. My reports from Carriacou is that Grenlec have already started planting poles, and they are already in the phase of starting to restore the network. Now, folks, if you understand what this means, it means that not only do they have to mobilize equipment on the ground in Carriacou for what they might have had there, but this is a complete total destruction of the grid. We're talking about almost every pole has either been toppled or it has been destroyed or affected in some way. So it means that a lot of heavy poles, a lot of heavy equipment had to move from mainland Grenada into Carriacou and Petit Martinique so that they can get started. And already poles are being planted in Carriacou as we speak. And so this is a massive effort to see things be put into operational point of view, that things are now being stabilized as a means of getting things going. We want to understand that we are now looking at decentralizing the collection of donated items. NADMA is recognizing that persons are coming into its location and it becomes overwhelming. Keep in mind that we are working with volunteers and we're working with a system, but it is so much that is coming in that NADMA is now encouraging supermarkets, and we're informing the places that sell food items that they can create a collection system at their point. And what we are asking is for those businesses to make contact with NADMA to indicate that you are doing so, and then we will coordinate with you for the delivery into NADMA so that the goods that are collected can be disseminated in the NADMA's network. So we are trying to encourage that, and we're saying to all supermarkets, places where groceries and others necessary items are being sold, that you can begin your own collection efforts with your customers, with your staff, and we want you to contact NADMA so that we can establish you as that, so that in our services we can now advertise that you are now a place where persons can go and make that contribution.
Having said that, someone wants some clarification. If that website pay.gov.gd,
yes,
is it a legitimate portal for donating to Hurricane Burial Relief Fund?
Yes, it is. In fact, that portal is the Government of Grenada's official site, and just to be clear, that not only can you go there to make these contributions, but it has been the official spot where you can make payments for your inland revenue transactions, and so for your driver's license, your taxes and stuff like that. This is an official government portal, so it is controlled by the Government of Grenada and no one else, and it is as official as you can get. Now, on the home page, as you go in there, you will see at the lower end of the home page there is an area that says "Click here if you wish to donate. When you click on that, you will see a transaction box will come up where you can put in the amount of information that you need, how much money you want to contribute, your card information, all of that. So it is secure. It is very secure. I myself, I have used it and I continue to use it, and I encourage the entire world. You can go there and make contributions in real time, and you can do so with your credit or debit card. Now, for folks who wish to make contributions via wire transfers, we have been publishing banking information so that wherever in the world you may be as a diaspora, you can go into your respective bank and do banking transaction for wire transfer directly to the government of Grenada to the accounts which have been advertised. Now, we want to be clear that the government of Grenada has set up a relief fund account with the Grenada Cooperative Bank, and all of the routing information which has been published officially is correct and true. The money is not going to anyone's pocket. It is not going to anyone's personally. It is going directly into the government of Grenada, where the resource would then be dealt with as the government would indicate. Now, it is under the purview of the Accountant General's office, and all of this has been officially done. So it is not a personal thing. It's not the Prime Minister doing it himself. This is all official, and we want to say it is bona fide and legitimate, and we want to encourage persons to use those direct lines.
So, folks, if you were having any concerns, you can use that portal, the pay.gov.gd. It is indeed and in fact a legitimate portal for making any relief contributions to government.
That is so. I also want to speak a little bit on what is happening on the ground in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Now, over the weekend, we have had this massive surge of relief. We've also had a massive surge of volunteers who went in there to deliver the relief. And we would like to let the whole country and the world know that the relief which happened over the weekend penetrated both islands significantly so. All right? To the tune that we are now getting reports that there were, I would say, bad actors. And in so doing, that word has been going around that persons in Petit Martinique and Carriacou are not getting relief. They are not getting the supplies which we are saying is getting in there. And that is not the case. We're saying that there is no one who is delivering the relief who has any ill will, because literally speaking, they are aid agencies, they are aid groups. These are professional entities, and it is not directly the government of Grenada who is touching persons. It is actual aid workers and volunteers who are getting out there. And if we recognize what is happening, all of the volunteers are doing so out of love of country and from their heart. They want to see everyone well, and they want to restore hope. They want to restore just whatever dignity they can to the individuals who have been so traumatized by this very difficult storm that has passed through our borders. Now, we want to indicate that there has even been, I have seen on social media where there has been one particular resident of Petit Martinique who basically came out and he was clarifying about there's just so much aid coming in.
It's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming. No, this is why we're saying we need to have things structured. We do not want to have individuals turning up at the ports and just offloading gear. The reason being is that there is not a lot of space. There is not a lot of manpower. You cannot expect for persons who have been traumatized to take volumes of items, sort it, and then package it, and then distribute it when they don't have space, they don't have equipment, and they do not have the means. And they're just dealing with just coming to terms with the hardships that they are now under. That is why NADMA is insisting that if you are going to be bringing aid, please check in with NADMA. NADMA will then coordinate your efforts, and then we will tell you exactly where you need to go. We're not saying that we don't want your support, but we're saying check in with NADMA so that we can guide where you should go with relief, where you should go with your manpower, and then we'll put you into the system so that we can coordinate this so that we do not overwhelm these areas.
Because having said that, one of the things that you want not to be happening now is spoilage.
Very much so.
Right? Because in a time when there is scarcity, it would be a sin to have it in such a way that it's not managed properly, that it gets to a point and it has to spoil.
Very much so.
Especially perishables.
Very much so. And and we want to reiterate, there is no electricity in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. This service, the network has been completely destroyed. And so at this point in time, it is generators. It is the utilization of these small portable generators where folks are getting a bit of power to charge their phones, where they're getting to run a little refrigerator, if possible. In most cases, not. And so anything that is perishable that may come in, it's something that has to be used immediately. And so we do not want to have things rushing in and it cannot be consumed. And then remember, it's not just spoilage, but when things spoil, you have to get rid of it. Yeah. And folks, remember, we have a problem moving things around. So the trash collection is not normal. And so the system is not overwhelmed. So we do not want to add more into the system that could cause the environment to be affected and tainted. So we love the response. We love each and every one of you for what you're doing. But please, we are begging of you, come into the NADMA network. Let us assign you, let us guide you and direct you so that we can do the best for our people.
And it would have more impact.
It will have more positive, not just impact, positive impact. Yes. Okay. Now, just to point, there has been some links which have been circulated for persons who wish to contribute to volunteer, which have been circulated. Now, I could. Let me see. We would send the link so that GBN will be able to publish this.
Definitely.
But one is for international volunteers. You just click on the link and you just fill out what the form requires. This information goes to the relief desk, which basically would coordinate with NADMA to make contact back with you, and we will let you know how, where, when, and why. Okay? For whatever it is that you wish to contribute, whether it be a donation in terms of gear, equipment, technology, whatever it is, please, we need you to put your information into the form so that we can coordinate it and vet it. Local citizens, there is a link that is specifically for local citizens. If you want to contribute your time, if you want to contribute your specialty and expertise, you may be a plumber, you may be a carpenter, you may be a construction specialist, you may have heavy equipment, whatever it is, you may be a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever you are and whatever you can contribute, we need for you to log it there so that we can have the emergency teams and the specialty teams assess, and as fast as decision making for deployment of resources, we will then let you know when and how you can be deployed to add to the restoration efforts. There is also one for yachts. So yachts and boating. Any person who have their private vessel, or you might be an agency or so who wish to let your vessel be used, or you wish to bring in aid into Grenada or into Carriacou, where Carriacou and Petit Martinique, we are asking for you to register there. It is asking for very specific information that is to allow so that not just the government of Grenada, but also we have to deal with the Port Authority, we have to deal with customs. We want to ensure that we minimize the hassle, minimize the stress, that you're coming for good or you want to move in between the islands for good, but we want it to be coordinated. So these forms are currently live, they're active, and we have been receiving hundreds, I would say at this point, of persons volunteering and putting their information in. So as I said, we will be publishing more of this. I think it has already been published, but we will be sending to GBN specifically so that you can broadcast throughout your network. So again, we want to impress upon folks. We want help. We need help, but we need the help to come in a coordinated fashion. Let us work with NADMA. NADMA has been doing a fantastic job. We're not saying everything is perfect. Nothing in this life is perfect. No, but what we're asking is for you to work within this system so that we can make the best and most positive impact. We have a very long road to travel. This is not a sprint. By no means. Yeah. We love Karani, but even for Karani, this is going to be a marathon task.
I don't know if you remember Anthony Dog Charles.
Oh, yes.
Right. He was a long distance runner. This is for him.
And this is for him. And even with him, he will struggle because we are not just looking at weeks of work coming ahead. We're looking at months. And this process of rebuilding and so it's going to go into possibly years. So we want us to remember the effects of Hurricane Ivan and Emily more than almost 20 years ago. And we want people to understand that Grenada has only recently started lifting its head and getting back to a sense of normalcy after the traumatic outturn of those storms. So it's the same thing with this one. It's just that the mainland Haitian has majority been spared, but for who has been affected, this is a long battle.
One of the things I've learned, right, in my aging years, is that from every situation is to look for the positive in it.
Yes.
And I think what we can get from this is we're going to rebuild better and stronger.
Yes.
Because if this is historic, a hurricane of that magnitude, of that veracity strikes so early, climate change is really kicking in.
Yes, it is.
And they are going to get more and more intensified. So therefore, we as a people have to be prepared. So I cannot see Carriacou and Petit Martinique and the north and other parts of Grenada that were devastated going back to rebuilding the same way they did before. So it means that the rebuilding process will be a part where it's prepared to withstand such storms and hurricanes and whatever. The relief there. Last week I had Pastor Stanford Simon with me on a couple of occasions because he too made some trips to Carriacou, and I know that he is teaming up, his church, the St. George's Baptist Church, is teaming up with the Grenada Credit Union League and lending some support. I think over the weekend they were bringing up food baskets and so forth, actual food, cooking it here and bringing it up. So I know a lot of agencies, as you intimated earlier. Father Gerard Paul, he's indicating that the Spicer Imaging Center is about to do some, maybe you can give us some enlightenment on that. What angle are you going to take from that?
Yeah, actually, so we want to, I'm going to get involved in the relief effort. We're going to collect stuff locally and internationally. I had somebody out of Miami calling me weekend a couple of days ago. But I want to say something about the prevention and preparing. And my brother here has been talking about it a lot. You know, the old people say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. We also have the saying, when your neighbor house is on fire, you have to wet it.
Yeah, wet yours.
Wet yours.
Wet yours.
And these are really strong proverbs emanating from the culture, and we need to allow them to speak to us now. We all excited and we all happy to lend help to Carriacou and Petit Martinique and so on. But both of you have been saying it. We have to draw the lessons from what is happening and what has happened. You talk about climate change, global warming. We've been hearing about it for a long time. We have to help to sensitize the society. We have to help to sensitize everyone that this is the reality we are living in. We are going to get stronger and stronger hurricanes, more and more regular hurricanes. You make the point. You made the point, both of you made the points over and over, that, it being historic that this is the first time in June that early you get in this massive hurricane. And remember that hurricane is eating all of Central America and so on. It's not stopping at all. And that is what is referred to in theology as a signal grace. We talk a lot about the grace of God. A signal grace is one in which something happens and you learn a lesson and you prepare and you position yourself so that not that the thing is not going to happen again, but you are now prepared for when it happens. So, for example, I kept wondering if the hurricane had hit Grenada proper, what kind of damage we'd have sustained. Ooh. And I'm saying that fully aware that we did build back stronger. we did build back stronger. The building code was adjusted and so on and so forth, and people stopped using nails but using screws and so on and so forth, and hurricane straps and all that thing. And so I just wanted to say a few areas here I think that we need to think about, and we need to incorporate in our preventative and preparatory process. So people have to observe what is happening. I remember at my church in St. David's, after the hurricane, we had to repair the roof again, and when we I gave these guys boxes of screws, and I went out, and when I came back the evening, I saw a number of boxes of screws. So I asked them what happened, did they do what they're supposed to do? And they said yes. Well, I climbed the roof myself and found out that if they were supposed to put screws every 12 inches, they were putting every 24 inches, and to say that they finished the job. So, there are some basic things that we all have to do: observe, learn, and act. Out of our observation, out of what, and you don't have to be a carpenter, you don't have to be a professional to observe some basic things. So if somebody is doing something for you in terms of your roof and so on, probably you may not be able to climb the roof, but you can get somebody to go and check the roof for you and make sure that they have done what they have done. Because we tricky people.
We always look for a shortcut.
Yeah, we love shortcuts. People have to look at the trees and make sure, because trees still falling on houses. People have to, who can afford it, insure your house, or sometime your house is underinsured. So you need to properly insure your house. And, we tend to expect a lot from government and the NADMA and the various agencies. And it's all right. It's in order to have high expectation of them. But there's a lot we can do as citizens. So in other words, why can't I acquire a couple tarpaulins? Why can't families acquire tarpaulins?
And a generator.
Well, I had generator on the list. So that when these things came around, and that really hit home to me when I went to Carrico. I said, but I need to get a generator now. I need to get tarpaulins myself, so that you're not just waiting on the agencies, because we are ourselves very resourceful people. People are sending barrels to people. Well, put a tarpaulin in the barrel, put a little generator in the barrel. Some solar lights, So those things, and we need to talk to each other and sensitize each other about, we don't like to talk about bad things. I talk about death a lot. People don't like to hear it. In church yesterday, a woman said to me, death is a very beautiful thing. And I always feel that myself, a very beautiful experience. She said her husband was sick in hospital. He was suffering from dementia and so on. And she said she went in, and he turned around and opened her eyes and saw her and just passed away.
Yeah.
But we don't want to talk about tough realities. We prefer to sit down and drink a rum and old talk and so on. We must be talking about hurricane every day in Grenada and preparing ourselves
mentally.
Every day. That's the point.
Mentally.
That's the reality we live in. And the more prepared we are, is the less damage we are going to sustain, the better we're going to be able to put ourselves back on our feet, and the less we're going to be dependent. And so that kind of a dependency syndrome, we have to keep working against that. And my brother here been talking about the coordinated effort, but that is in the roots of the culture. When we did maroons and when we helped one another and we organized, and some people were cooking and some people were lifting stuff, and some people were the technical people doing the building, and some people, we have it in the culture. So why can't we employ it and, regain some of the depths and the strength of the culture, So we need that kind of things, those kinds of things, to be part and parcel of how we operate in the society.
Another very important point that you raised that I wish to amplify a bit. By conversing about it and gathering knowledge about it, it would also put us as a people in a better position to mitigate against the negative impacts that can be derived from this disaster. So by talking about it, you would want to research on it so that when it comes, people would be well informed and educated to know this is what you do. For example, we tend to think that the only disaster that we can have here is a hurricane. But we've noticed in recent times that earthquakes are getting more and more frequent and closer to home. We had earthquakes recently. What do we do in the event of an earthquake? These are the things, these are the conversations, and I would like the media, with you being at the helm of the GIS now, I think that the media fraternity in Grenada needs to take that approach of not just playing music, but being more informative and constructively so.
Yes. Well, let me just raise a bit of some of the context upon what is really happening with us. We have to keep in mind that we are a very small society, a very small community. We are a very small economy. And there are a number of things that when you sit in a first world country or you sit in a developed country, you do not consider or you take it for granted, right? We are on the front line.
Yeah.
Make no bones about it. We are on the front line. We are facing every conceivable hazard and threat that is coming at us now. And the goal of these hazards and threats is to wipe us off the map. Let us understand that Mother Nature is not kind to us. And so resilience is something that, yes, we are a resilient people, but as things intensify, it is getting to that point where, one, we cannot afford it financially. Two, no matter what standards we put in place, we are seeing that the level of destruction is so total and complete that it boggles the mind. Now, I saw from footage taken at Caracou that there was a massive brand new concrete structure that was shifted off its entire foundation, right, on a hill. We're talking about a massive concrete structure that is a 3-story building, and it is shifted, literally off its pillars, right? We are seeing that from drone footage that there are buildings who have built their roofs and they have done it to the code, right? However, the roofs have no galvanized, and they have used the screws, they have used all what they had to do, but the roofs have no galvanized. What it is happening here is that it is a wake-up call, right? We can do so much, but the reality here, what we are faced with is an intensification of climate conditions that will ravage us on a consistent and ongoing basis. We need the world to recognize that we on the front line cannot control these, and even if we do what we can to mitigate, we are just like a rag doll. We are like a cloth in the wind. We are going to be boxed left and right, and all we can do is react and respond after the incidents have happened. Now we have our neighbors just came out from a massive volcanic eruption, which affected us. Yeah. It significantly affected our neighbors in Barbados and so. And we cannot now be laissez-faire. And I would like to point out to our diaspora, we need you. We need you, and we don't need you now because something have happened. We need you on a constant and ongoing basis. We cannot survive here as a nation without our diaspora. We have many professionals in all disciplines leading in key areas in the world, and we have to call and say to you, your country needs you. Your families need you. As a community, we cannot continue to exist without all of us coming about to see what we can do to help mitigate against the challenges we have. We need us all to come and play that part, and from wherever in the world you may be, you are important to home affairs.
Let me just stick in that. What is also needed, right? And what grace you call it? What was the grace?
Signal grace.
Signal grace. This is a signal grace, right? Where we are seeing now in the disaster that we've just experienced. I was looking at a footage from a shelter in Carriacou, and the lady there responsible for the shelter was saying, we are all a family here, although we are from different households, but we are in the family shelter here, and we have to weather the storm together as a family. Now what this is saying, it is indicative of the fact that together we are stronger.
Yes.
Of course we will have our personal differences, and that's what life is made up of. Everybody can't be positive. There must be negative and positive for the electricity to flow. All right, so we expect differences of opinions, but as a nation we are too small and too closely knitted for us to have politics and religion and personal preferences get to the core of our people to create that great divide. We are stronger together, and it is important, as the Spanish people would say, es muy importante that we understand this now and realize this is I keep forgetting signal grace.
Yeah. Yes.
That it's okay to be different, but we are stronger together.
Oh, very much so. I want to impress upon everyone, as Father Paul had clearly indicated, we come from a cultural background where the family unit was core. We know that when it comes to how we think, how we behave, what we say, what we don't say, it comes stemming right back to home. And we want people to remember that when you are affected, your family is affected. And when one of us in our society is affected, the family of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we're all affected. And as such, no man is an island, no pun intended, but no one of us can weather what is coming and what we have been seeing alone. And so we're calling on everyone in our society, both locally, regionally, and internationally. Let us come together. Let us build together. Let us work together. Let us share and love each other together. Because the only way forward for us is as a unified front. We are not the only ones. We have to also mention that our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Grenadine Islands, Jamaica, major impacts. Major impacts. And so we are not the only ones. We're not just isolated in this. And I'm saying to everyone that it now is not the time to be divided along any lines. We are very clear that what we are calling on is, as a Grenadian, as someone who is of this earth here in this little rock. I told my daughter yesterday morning that no matter where I go in the world, I can be deported, but no one can deport me from this rock. And as such, I am positive.
And they would have to fight hard to get you.
They would have to
fight hard to get you extradited.
Of course. And as such, I take that perspective that my willingness to do what I'm doing is not for pay. It is for the love of country, for the generations in the future that I will never know. We have to take care of business today so that they can have a nation and they can know the importance of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique to the world.
I'd just like to read a comment from one of our WhatsApp contributors. Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, God loves you. The country will rise better than before. God loves Grenada and its dependencies. Deacon Mitchell is the best thing that happens to Grenada. After 2 years, he secured and mobilized the world after this monstrous hurricane. The leadership of this young government is doing an excellent job. That's the opinion of one of the contributors.
Yes. And I would say that we would let that stay right where it is and let it soak, because I do believe that our current leadership is doing a fantastic job. They are at the forefront. They are not sitting from behind and doing anything different. And we want to let all leaders leaders of departments inside of government, all leaders within our statutory bodies, our government enterprises. We need each and every one of you to now rise to that occasion and follow the leadership which has been set by our governance arm of the government of Grenada. And we want you to step forward and work with your teams and let us build back Grenada better. Let us build back Karakook better. Let us build back Petit Martinique better. And we can only do so when we have a full and complete cohesive effort put forward by each and every one of us. Now is not the time for division. Now is not the time for fighting and bickering and backbiting. I think our mandate is clear and our mandate is very secure. Let us move together hand in hand. I think the words on our motto, the words on our coat of arms, it speaks to us as a people. And these are words that have been penned long before this hurricane, right?
Yeah. They had a premonition that something like that was coming.
Of course. And as such, as a people, we are one nation. And as such, I am asking all, let us come together. Let us work let us continue to save the lives of the affected. Let us continue to contribute. The weather, the rain that is falling now, let us not see our neighbors wetting and we do not go out and pull them in. Let us embrace it. Let's bring a little cup of hot cocoa, a little fry bakes. Let us open our hearts. Let's open our doors and let us take care of each other, because now is the moment in time that will define what happens next. Definitely. And our actions as a people will determine whether we rise or whether we sink. And I'm saying that it is not an option to sink.
Definitely not.
Right? We are going to plane just like a boat on high seas, pushing forward, and we are going to do it together. So the government of Grenada, through its various resources and with our partners both regionally and internationally, we call upon everyone, let us do this together. As I said before, what we are seeing now is the trueness of our nature, and it is shining strongly. I want to continue to encourage all the contributors, the donations, the volunteers, all of the relief that is happening at this point. Please note that it is reaching its mark. It is reaching its mark to the point where the folks on the other end are bawling out saying, we are feeling it, we are seeing it, we are receiving it. And it is coming so quickly that at this point now, we're saying, ease up a little bit. Let we breathe, let we swallow, and let it process. Yeah. But in the meantime, we're saying we do not want it to stop. We want it to be channeled well. Yeah. And folks, you can call NADMA. The numbers will be made available. We have email addresses that you can contact. We have the payment system that you can go through. We have the registration system for yachts, for locals, for international. We want everyone to understand that we love you, we need you, we appreciate all what you're doing, but please let us do it in a coordinated and concerted way. Now, just quickly on the north of the island, I want for us to understand that there has been a lot of damage in St. Patrick and St. Mark specifically so. But in other parts of the nation where there might not have been a lot of widespread damage, it still doesn't change that we have had impacted families. Last night I made my way up to St. John, and I got to witness some of the households that got significant damages. And when you sit from the perspective of those individuals, it is no different from the folks in Karakook or Petit Martinique. So I want for us all to understand that though the parish or that general area might not have received the significance of damage, but to an individual who has lost their roof completely or who have seen that an entire portion of their building no longer fit for habitation, that we must understand that they feel no different from Karakook and Petit Martinique, and the government of Grenada recognizes this, and we have so responded and we continue to mobilize. So for those of you who are not who are feeling like if the focus is going only to the territories over the sea, we're saying to you, no, we have recognized it and the help is coming. In fact, help has already reached a significant portion of the persons, and we continue to come. Now, relative to the network of roads, you know, we have a very mountainous terrain, and the nature of the trees and the nature of the shrubbery and everything, the hurricane has thrown quite a lot into the road. Now, Now, it is necessary for the roadways to be cleared. And after Saturday's efforts, what was recognized was what was needed on Sunday was a lot of chainsaw gangs working to cut up massive trees to move a lot of the branches and so that are now laying in significant parts of the road, which is preventing us from moving containers and so to the north of the island. So with the heavy rains that has happened yesterday morning and into today, we're still seeing weather being affected. The crews have been limited in being able to go out and do so. In fact, yesterday they had to pull the plug and cancel the entire operation because it was just too wet and there was just too much of a constant downpour of rain. However, my understanding is that these efforts it's not going to be shut down. We're coming back at it again, and NADMA would be announcing very soon how this matter would be reorganized. But in the meantime, we continue to go towards clearance of roads, because when the roadway is clear, we're able to bring in the equipment, we're able to bring in the feed, the food. Accessibility. It is very important for people to understand that. And there is also the psychosocial teams from the ministries which are now on the ground, and they are going door to door, speaking with persons who have been affected, and they're trying to understand their perspective so that they can give that additional mental support. By no means is this easy. It is not easy for the persons who have been affected, but even more so, the aid workers, the volunteers who are now encountering this, there is also that mental effect that is having on them. So the government has already resolved within itself that it is putting the mental and the psychosocial priorities. It is focusing on that, and teams have already been deployed both in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So this is a comprehensive response. It is not being shot at the hip. It is not how people feel, and there is no bias in how this response is happening. This response is going to touch every affected life, and it has already begun. And I would say by the ending of this week, you would start getting reports of how intense and how direct the effects have been.
Okay. We've exceeded our time. I know you're the director of GIS. You'll plead on my behalf so that my boss would not fire me this morning. Father is going to pray for me as well. Father, your closing remarks, please.
Yeah, I'm really happy with what I'm hearing. It's been a really instructive moment, time for us. Our brother has, what's his name again? Jason Phillip has been giving us, and we feel very happy because we have come to this point where we can do relief in that structured, organized, strategic manner. It has not always been that way. It used to be quite haphazard. So I feel very, very elated that we are here. And thank you very much, Jason, for the work that you're doing. We must always remember what we are doing. We are contributing to the lives of people. You know, we are contributing to the happiness of people. We are contributing to building foundation. My brother made the point earlier on that, you know, the contributions that are being made now, you know, are to help generations and people that he would never know. I always remember, I'm a person of history, I always take to heart the fact that a lot of people made contributions to what we have today. You know, and we cannot take them for granted. Now we in our turn must make our contribution for tomorrow. And so, concluding here, I just want to remind the public and the viewers that Spice Isle Imaging Center is a center for collecting relief. And I'm very happy now because I was concerned about who we are going to channel those relief to, because you want to know that when you do all of that, it goes and it reaches the people that matter. I'm always concerned about the fact, and I have experienced it in parish work and so on, that very often the people who get the stuff are the people who are running all around the place to get the stuff. And some people are even immobile in their home. They can't move around. So those things have to be taken into consideration. And as citizens, we must consider that. You know, I am going to get stuff. Why I'm not telling my neighbor where stuff is being distributed today? Why do I want to go and grab everything for myself alone? And the old lady next to me who can't even move, you know, is she getting anything? I remember in Hurricane Ivan, there was a woman who got 3 houses. She built a house for her son in prison. When he come out, he going to get a house. She built, she renovated one of the houses that she had to rent out, right? And she got her own house fixed.
And meanwhile, there were other people around.
Yeah, meanwhile, in Vincent's, I remember doing some visitation and seeing an old man and an old woman coming out from underneath their house. Because the house was demolished, they had tarpaulin and it's still leaking. These people were in their 70s, you know, and you know, I really feel it for the elderly people who now, you know, at this stage of their lives have to be struggling with that kind of situation. So let us be mindful of one another, and again, we will welcome whatever assistance people will drop off at Spice Early Imaging Center. We will ensure that it goes into the right hands. Thank you very much.
Father Paul, Brother Jason Phillip, I call you brother now, basic fraternity. Thank you for what has been. Go right ahead.
Yes, I know we have to wrap up, but this is some very important information I think that everyone needs to know. Now, when it comes to sending relief, a lot of folks have been asking, so how can I send stuff to my family? At this point in time, NADMA is not able to take any donations in and say we're bringing it for a specific person. It is just not possible at this point. Remember, the infrastructure in Carriacou and Petit Martinique is completely devastated, and at this point, it is mass relief efforts. However, for persons who are seeking to do so, we're saying that you will not be allowed to travel. However, the Osprey and its packaging services are functional. You can take your package to the Osprey, to their office, or to the port where they're at. We suggest you go through their office, and you're able to do just as normal, send your packages through their system, and it will be received in Carriacou on that end from your family members. There is limited cell service there, but the cell service does exist, and so you would want to coordinate with your family member there first before sending it off. But you cannot expect that any contributions which come to NADMA, it cannot be funneled to any specific individuals at this time. All of those things will be going into the mass distribution, and that is where it will happen. Last but not least, we also want to remind folks that there is still a state of emergency that is in existence at Carriacou and Petit Martinique. This is there so that it can protect the persons who are affected, protect the aid workers and the volunteers and NADMA's coordinated teams, all the utility support suppliers and equipment that are being put in there, and the security services that are on the ground. The state of emergency is in effect to protect and to guide and to control what is happening. We are asking for everyone outside of that system, outside of those conditions, to please be mindful that you should not just go into Carriacou and Petit Martinique unannounced. You are going to be creating more harm than good, and we're asking that we maintain law and order as we transition this very difficult time. We know that you mean well, we know that you want the best, but we're asking that you do not circumvent the law at this point, because we do not want to have the police having to go and do heavy law enforcement when the focus really is relief. Yeah. So we want to remind everyone, please use the official channels of getting things done so that we can all be better for it, and that we can serve the nation, serve our affected people in the best way possible. So please, Grenada, we love you, and to our diaspora, we need you, and to the rest of the world, thank you. And we continue to move forward as a government, and you will be getting more and more updates as time go on. If not from myself, we would have my representatives from the GIS and other parts of government who will be coming in from time to time, and we will continue to give you updates as to what is progressing as time progresses.
Gentlemen, thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
I wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, and you also.
You
Folks, that has been the conversation for this morning, and thank you very much for your listening here this morning. It wasn't interactive. This was a morning for getting the information that was so much needed. Thank you. I love you. Bye-bye.